By the way, welcome whoever that, it looks like Mitch, maybe. Welcome. We can't see you and we can't see your name, but welcome.
Who is that?
Oh, there it is.
Reed. It's Reed. Hey,
Hi,
Hey, Reed. I'm like, Reed Mitchell.
Yeah, long time since we've seen you. Yes, welcome.
Like the long hair. It looks good.
The light behind you, Reed, is making your face just a shadow.
Yes, that's how I like it. I'm rearranging things.
Okay. To have a light in front of you instead of behind you, it works better. Yeah.
Well, it's not. I do not have lights set up to.
Okay.
To do that,
all right.
So.
No, that's fine.
So you were saying, Jean, you watched Boots on the Ground, and I'm just, I'm just always curious to hear like what people thought about it. I was a little too close to it to understand how people just out in the public would interpret that film.
I did not know the history of it. I did not know that history, and it was so good to know that, to learn that, and and what an incredible feat to get that turned around. That's kudos to you, folks.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It was interesting though, but because the thing that I'm trying to learn out of it, and that I'm still processing, is, I come from this perspective that the reform of animal control as took place here is a culture change within a large and entrenched bureaucracy within the city of Minneapolis. And it was requiring engaging, public officials, at every level, mayors, city council members, over dozens of years of work.
Wow.
And so I'm trying, and the thing that I keep thinking is that the lessons learned from that, I believe, should directly apply to the work that we're doing in Transition Longfellow.
Yes, it's the same kind of, changing people's attitudes and policies and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, and it was interesting. I had, in making the film, I actually had a lot that I learned, even though I lived through the 20-year experience of doing that work. I got a lot more value from putting that film together. And as I was going through the film, I realized that while it took 20 years for the Twin Cities to get there, each of the animal shelters that changed, when they changed overnight pretty much. The city of Minneapolis Animal Control achieved no kill when Molly Linares started working as the animal control director and changed the culture, changed the belief system, changed the mindset of the institution, and they just stopped killing animals, literally overnight. For decades before that, we had believed there were too many animals and not enough homes, and they had to kill 50%, which is about what they had been killing before that. Well, she changed everything overnight. There was never a surplus of animals. Everything that we believed about that situation turned out to be incorrect and wrong. And the same thing happened everywhere else. What they had to do is change their mind. So the work of reforming animal shelters was about changing people's minds to get them to believe a better future was possible. And as soon as they made that mental shift in their brains, they changed their behavior and the shelters changed. And so I think that that's what our work is about, is convincing and getting people to believe that we can have a better future going forwards and a better society going forwards. That's what we are here to do, I think. So it resonated with me, and that's why I wanted to share it with the group.
Wow. Yes, thank you for doing that. Yes, I got that connection, toward at the end there of the film. Yeah.
It's worth noting, I did put out, one of the topics that came up in the film is a topic that I think is near and dear to my heart. We've talked about it before at meetings, which is, bringing diversity, bringing anti-racism into the movement, because, you know, to have a really equitable, sustainable society, we have to solve that issue of systemic racism. You know, we've talked about that, so I won't get into it a lot, but you'll notice that topic even came up in the film. And but it was only mentioned very briefly. City Council member Cam Gordon had talked about how you know, the animal control policies came from the old broken windows policing idea, you know, where you just get people on every little thing so you can get in there and, you know, get them for more stuff and maybe get some leverage in the neighborhood to change things. And that was the doorway to, you know, racism and, you know, disparities in how those broken window laws were enforced, and animal control was totally swept up in that entire mix of stuff. And so he talked about that in the film, but I couldn't get into it in detail. And I had wanted to do more. I had a long interview with an attorney in Minneapolis who has sued the city for racial issues and is also a dog attorney who worked with the reform of animal control. And so I have like a full-on interview with him about the systemic racism, how we change it. And that's just published today as an extra to that film. So if anybody's interested, they can go out and watch that. The attorney's name is Marshall Tannick. And maybe I'll just go ahead and put a link out on the Facebook, on the group, if anybody wants to see that film as well.
I'd like to, yeah. On Facebook?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll post it on Facebook. And it really is just an interview with Marshall Tannick. But I think it's fascinating. It's all about systemic racism and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Right. Great. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, we have some agenda items here, and if you take a look at what I had sent out as an attachment of the agenda. But anyway, I don't see Audrey here, so I guess we won't have a treasurer's report. But anyway, first of all, greetings and welcome. Welcome. Hi, everybody, and welcome. and you read too. Good to see your smiling face.
Yeah, I finally made it onto the internet.
Well, we're glad to see you. Yes, right. So, yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I'll contact Audrey to see what's going on there with her. But anyway,
I'm assuming we haven't spent or acquired any money in the last month.
No, no, I don't think so. I haven't.
Yeah, we can just maybe send her an email for clarification, but our assumption is that, and that the balance remains as it was.
Right.
And we'll just go with that. How about that?
Yep, that sounds fine. Okay, the first one, there was an email that Audrey had forwarded, well, I don't know, month or more ago, from Deb Ryerson inquiring as whether the wanted to have again the Veggie Basics class via Zoom in 2021. That's the Master Gardener's Veggie Basics class that we've usually kind of goes along with Chart Your Yard. Or I mean, it's nice that people who can take that if they sign up for a raised bed. But anyway, so anyway, I forwarded that on to the rest of all of you, but I haven't heard back. I mean, and I don't know that anyone's responded to Deb Ryerson. Elizabeth, do you know anything? I mean, do you remember seeing that email?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was hoping that Audrey would be here tonight because I was going to ask her. I would be willing to work that out because I think although we did split and decided it was a lot easier and less complicated to do those two events separately, to have the Veggie Basics class separate from Chard Your Yard, because it just got to be really complicated, overly complicated for scheduling.
Right.
While I still like the separation there, you're right. There's definitely a connection there. And I'm like, it's a Zoom thing. So how much work could it be? So she made me nervous in the email because she's like, I don't want to do this. This is a lot of work.
Yeah, Audrey said that. She said she didn't want to do it because it was a lot of work. Now, I've never worked with it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I will reach out to her separately and see where we're at with that. Because depending on what it is, I know for me, things get to be very tedious and heavy work intensive when I find that people aren't, and I don't know how else to say this, but like aren't like online or, you know, on email, when everything is done either phone call or drop a check off kind of thing. That's where things get difficult for me. I need to email someone. But I can contact her and see.
Okay.
I mean, unless anyone else is chomping at the bit to, I should probably ask to work with them.
Well, you know, it's, we seem to have a smaller and smaller group these days. So, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much that people can take on, you know.
Definitely. So what I'll do is I'll see what's going on with Audrey, and then I'll bring it back and let you know if I need any help. I think that probably works, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I've got a question about that. Was the previous one, was the 2020 edition recorded?
Oh, the Veggie Basics? Was there
Did they do a Veggie Basics?
I don't think they did one.
I don't think they did either, because that was
They can't. That was right at the beginning of
at
when
the end
COVID
of
was.
April, right?
Yeah, COVID was just, and that's right when everything was just getting canceled, and
They wouldn't have been able to because we would have been on lockdown, right?
Right. And it was before, and people were just beginning to think of figuring Zoom stuff out.
right? So anyway, so Reed, to answer your question, no. So the one would have been in 29, last one would have been in 2019, and that probably was an in-person one, which wouldn't have been recorded. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking that if I have no idea how much work it takes to make it, but if it is done by Zoom, then it could be recorded and have something that's available for the Chard Your Yard participants to watch.
Yeah.
As a recommendation for them.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Right. Maybe you could check that out and I don't know if we're getting to be kind of, I mean, it was some time ago, so I don't know if we can, someone would have to get back to Deb and see if this is still an option to do it, you know, or maybe it's too late.
Yeah, I think she was, I think this is when planning kind of starts, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Involved with the Veggie Basics, but I know
Okay.
we started like January. I don't know if we'll need to do that again this year, but to get on the rotation for grants and stuff like that.
So
I'll go back on that.
check with Deb Ryerson, someone find out from Deb Ryerson. I still have the email from her.
I do. I have the email that you forwarded.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
she on that one?
Right. So
Can I
check with
just,
her, you know,
can I
see
just respond
if
back?
it could be, if somehow it, you know, how they plan to do it, and if it's a possibility to have it recorded for people to watch when they're able
It sounded like they were doing it over Zoom this time.
Right, but Zoom
Right.
isn't the same as recorded.
You can.
Depending upon your Zoom setup, you have the option to record it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they would have to have the option to record. Yeah, right. So kind of be
Like
the
I'm
two
doing
things.
here, you know, this meeting will be up on the internet, you know, tomorrow. So.
Right. Okay.
Boy, I should have combed my hair better.
You look fine. I know, it's like when I first saw Zoom, I said, "Oh my God, I better go comb my hair."
You know, it matters too, like what that final image is that gets posted with the video too. The thumbnail.
Yeah, the thumbnail, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on then, the next item, well, we talked about this last time. Well, Mike, you brought up these, you know, a concern about the Facebook and what's posted on it. And well, we probably need to have someone, how maybe not in this meeting, but in a separate meeting, discuss the policy and guidelines for what's posted on a website and the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because there had been some postings on Facebook that is totally opposite to what transition is about. Anyway,
And like climate denier stuff is what was mentioned.
climate denier stuff.
I watched the last
Yeah.
Transition Longfellow meeting, so I fully agree that we should have some basics, like Mike was saying, guidelines. And I'm wondering, is there something that we can adopt from Transition USA that they would have on there? I mean, there's got to be something. Right?
You know, their Transition USA is having this exact same conversation.
Oh.
And I know that because I had a meeting with Leslie a little bit ago, and we had the conversation. It kind of started with, you know, her and I talking, and then I brought it to the group at the last meeting. You know, and that whole situation, you know, and I've been thinking about it a little bit more since then. You know, there's a part of me that, you know, I have a strong visceral reaction to censorship, you know,
Right.
and so, and, you know, and don't want to be, you know, like the thought police or anything. And so, yeah, I'm just going to put this out there that, you know, and as we're continuing this conversation about like the leadership of the organization, how is it structured and what do we do? Maybe we just have, you know, standards for that leadership group, you know, the admins of the Facebook page. You know, in the case of that climate denial stuff, it was, you know, being done by somebody who's president of Transition Longfellow, which is put it in a slightly different category than if it was just somebody else, you know, posting it.
I agree.
And so I think we have to think about it in all of those terms. I think just if the general public posts stuff out there, I think we can respond to it, but I think we shouldn't have our official people putting that stuff out at all, ever.
But she is no longer
Right.
president.
Yeah. Right. I understand.
Yeah.
Yep. I understand. But it's not that's a policy that we should have as a group, regardless of the individual people involved, because it's going to be I'm guessing we want new people to come in. And so, you know, it's kind of good to have guidelines for that, I think, so that we just say up front, you know, we're not going to be posting that stuff. Our leadership group is not going to be posting that stuff.
And it was all posted within the Transition Longfellow group, right? I don't Facebook very often, but when I do Facebook, I like click right into, I've figured out how to do that. I click right into that group because I want to go to that space that is not full of denial and the fake news, right? So I think it's, I don't know, I think it's appropriate, and I think there's definitely a line between censorship, but I also feel it's a safety or protection as well for the members of the group.
What we did in that case, and I thought it was handled well. It was handled publicly, which is maybe not an ideal way to do it going forward. But you know, another way to handle it, I had noticed it and was, you know, horrified and was wanting to delete it. And as an admin of the page, I could have, but I chose not to. And I just kind of thought, oh, I don't even want to bring this topic up. I mean, it was like that. And I just tried my best to ignore it. And then Leslie posted something in the comments on the offending material. and then the conversation came about, you know, in the comments on the piece, and it was ultimately deleted. But I sort of wonder if it wouldn't be better just to have like the admin group of the webpage get together and you know, and have those conversations on a one-off basis. And you know, if they show up again, and you know, maybe instead of having this set policy, we have a group, you know, that just takes that on to figure out how we're going to handle it if it happens again. What do you think of that approach?
Admin group?
Yeah, I mean, how many admins of the page are there?
I'm not, I know.
I always assumed there was this group. Hold on, let me see. Whatever it turns out, I'm the only admin. I would be, I would be really surprised. How would that happen? Hold on, let me look. Welcome, Andrew.
Hi,
Hi.
Andrew. Hey.
Hi, good to be here.
Does anybody,
Good to see you. Yes.
does anybody else know about how many admins are on the Transition Longfellow Facebook page?
I was never involved with that.
Okay.
You know, Clyde Cutting, that was the, you know,
Yeah. The
admin
creator.
before you, and Leslie before him.
So
And
I'm on the web page right now, and it says that there are 6 admins, Clyde, Peter, and 4 others.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not finding that just yet. I'm looking, but I'm not finding the info. But that's, yeah, that's what I figured. So what we should figure out, maybe that'll be my project for next month, is I'll go through, figure out who really needs to be on that admin list. And so that we can, you know, have a more active role in that. Because I think that some of the people who are on that list probably aren't paying attention to the group anymore.
but
Yeah,
definitely
so-
not Peter. He's not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I did pull it up. It's Clyde, Peter, Wilbur, you, Leslie, and Emily.
Okay.
Oh, Emily. Oh, okay.
Very good. So, I guess at this meeting, I'm the only one who's been coming to these meetings. I think, but what do you think about a way for us to handle that then, that admin group, as was just read, just discussing it privately? And
Well, I think everybody should weigh in on what they think, because there is the thing about, you know, we don't, you know, if we censor this, then what else would we decide to censor? You know,
Sure. Yeah.
And who's making that decision to censor? You know, I have real mixed feelings about it. You know, it's
Let me, I want to bring up it from a different perspective, which is, instead of what to not allow, what to allow and encourage, and what's the purpose of the Facebook page,
Yeah.
or Facebook group. If it looks like I haven't been paying attention, I've been listening, but also paging through to see what has been posted. And we've got looking for a renter on there. I mean, a lot of things that are obviously connected, but then a handful of flu shots. And
it really has not been an issue, particularly since that came up. When that was happening, though, there was sort of like the tipping point event, but there were multiple smaller issues that were sort of bubbling up prior to that. And so anyway,
yeah, I guess, well, so right now it's open to anybody in the group can post, I assume.
Yeah.
And post anything.
Yeah.
Is that, again, it does not seem like it's a problem, but is the purpose of the group to communicate about, one of them is obviously things that are going on with Longfellow transitions. It also seems like it's a way of sharing information, climate change related mostly.
Mhm.
I'm not sure whether the intention of those is to just give people interesting things to look at, or to start discussions, or what the function of that is. Because we all have many sources of information.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all of that, and I've seen all of that happen out at in the Facebook group. You know, sometimes discussions do come up, and and maybe we just leave it as is. My concern is that there's, outside of the group where conversation occurs, everything that's posted there goes on the news feeds of other people. And if it scrolls by their news feed, and they see posted by, I'm going to put this out there, and sorry for the stammering, but I've got multiple concerns all coming together all at once here. We have approximately 800 and some people, I think, who subscribe to that information in one way, shape, or form. Most of them aren't active. They don't go to the group and they don't scroll through and read it. But the things that are posted go through their news feeds, and they see that stuff at a superficial level. So, president of Transition Longfellow posts this climate denial stuff into the group. It goes through all those people's news feeds. They don't necessarily read any follow-up conversation. All we have successfully done in that case is spread, climate denial propaganda. And that is the largest impact, no matter what we do, as a group. Even if we have conversations in the comments underneath it to try to fix it, that, you can't. And so, that's my concern, especially at a time when disinformation is flying all over the place. I think when those things happen, we should do something about it. And if our goal is, promoting climate action because of the climate crisis, promoting climate denial stuff would be really counterproductive.
I think also when you have additional conversations and comments that go after the posting, it becomes more popular in the algorithm. So it's going to be in more people's news feeds. So it's kind of like feeding off of itself. And then I think it also, even though you have those comments, it's like working against it.
Right. So I propose, so that we can have at least some short-term answer, I'll connect up with the other admins of the group, of the page. We can all agree that we should not be, as leaders of this group, posting climate denial stuff or anti-vax stuff or anti-science stuff. I would assume most of that would apply. I don't know, but that's not the purpose for the group, and we won't be posting that. And if we see it posted, the admins of the page will discuss it amongst themselves to figure out what to do on a case-by-case basis. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I do wonder whether it's actually, whether you have the option to review things as admins before they get posted. And I don't.
You can, but right now, since it isn't so much of a problem, I hate to do that, because then people can have hours between the time they post something and when it shows up and they see it. And I think people get frustrated about that.
I think that might be a good thing.
Could be.
All right. Well, in general, I tend to defer to people who take the time to be admins of groups and give them a lot of leeway in how they want to do it, because they're the ones who are working on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great idea to get in touch with the other people, see how active they want to be involved in that.
Yeah. Very good.
Good. Okay. Also, part of this That is, well, the next thing about transition leadership and roles and duties. Now, we don't have to discuss that here, but we can. Now the leadership, I'm not, you know, does that leadership mean who? The whole planning group, or just the official officers of the group? President, secretary, treasurer, admin, or
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, because we haven't really had an active leadership group outside of the planning team, and the planning team has always mostly been like event planning team.
right.
And this is that event planning team. I would propose that, you know, the people who are the signatures on our legal paperwork that say they're the secretary, they're, you know, what are the other positions?
Treasurer and
Treasurer
president.
and president, who, you know, I think we're in a place where we have to figure out what we need. A president. We have to figure out how we're going to fill that slot in. And it would be nice if that group would get together, figure out what is that process for us, and also what's the expectations of that group. So going forward, we kind of know how that's all going to work as an organization. I think, but we don't have to fix that here. I think that can all be done offline, but it would be nice to start that conversation.
Well,
unless you don't think we need to talk about it, but I just think we need a president. We don't even have one.
It's not like it's going away. I mean,
right.
I think also we can define the roles that we need, and it kind of starts like the ball rolling, right? I mean,
yeah.
These are our vacancies. This is what we're looking for. It's not like it seems like we're at a very low point in our membership and whatnot, but you can turn it around, and one of the things you do is you request, you know, like you show people there's a space for you here. Would you fit this space? Or maybe you fit this space. Is this a space you're interested in? And you really aren't going to get anybody into spaces if you don't have spaces defined. But I think that we should, and without the pressure of saying, if you show up at this meeting, you're going to end up as a treasurer. Like, I think that people get freaked out about that. And it's like, it doesn't really work that way. It should be, these roles should be more sought after as well for people that are, you know, getting into this kind of work. This is a good opportunity, you know. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. I think we should talk about it.
Yeah, I think all of that's really good, and that's all really good info. I agree 100% with all of that, because how can you ask people to fill a role if you don't know if you haven't said what the role is or what you're asking for?
So are there volunteers? Well, I think the folks who are in leadership should be part of a separate meeting time to talk about this further, and to maybe get down some of those responsibilities, you know, so we don't have to keep talking about it every time, you know, and then see who is filling the roles currently, and the ones that we don't have filled, see if anyone would want to fill that. So I guess we need to get folks to volunteer to meet together separately from this monthly meeting to talk about that. I'm willing to do that.
Very good. I would be willing, you know, I don't know how you want to pick who's in that group to meet, but I would be willing to be in that meeting and talk about it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I don't know. And I think anybody else who wanted to should be able to come to that too.
Right. Well, anybody
I think
needing
keeping it open might be interesting to see,
Yeah.
does a different group of people show up? Because I feel like when we were having meetings, remember when we were meeting, what was that? The Hiawatha School or the Hiawatha Park? There's a lot of people there, you know, I feel, and maybe people just needed to take a little breather and get used to how things are going and realize that you can still be involved.
Well, that was an heavily planned, heavily advertised meeting thing that I'm amazed too at how many people showed up at that, but so I'm not sure. I mean, I do not have, the only emails I have are in the planning group, I don't know how we would, get this out there, or maybe, ask on Facebook or.
Yeah, or if you write something up that you want to send out to people, if we post it on the blog, it will automatically go to all of our subscribers, all the people on our email list. And then so typically that's how we have those two communication channels, primarily email and Facebook. And so and the website. And if you put it on the website, it goes through to everybody's email. And then we just share that on the Facebook. So you're going to create an event on, pick the date, create an event on the website, on the calendar, and then we can write up a blog and it goes everywhere. So you just have to figure out the date and time and then put it out there.
What are you going to say, Rita?
Also, it can be very effective, especially in terms of trying to seek out specific leadership people. If you know someone who has worked with the group, to do a personal invite, like encourage them to come, to show up, and that they, are welcome and that we want them. I don't know. I know it's very obvious, but that's one of the reasons why I keep showing up for Transition, because at one point I got a personal reach out, and so I think it makes a difference for people.
A personal reach out meaning what?
All of us in this group tonight, if you know someone who has kind of maybe been on the fence with the Transition Longfellow events or something, or who you think might fit in the group, to maybe come and attend and see if they're interested.
Actually, I don't know if anybody remembers Tom and Amy, who.
Oh yeah.
Remember, they moved to California. I mean, they were really active at one time.
Yeah, and they're back now, right?
They're back now. They live just a few blocks from me. I've seen them several times, and I just saw them recently. Asked Tom, would he be willing to be, come, be part of these meetings and kind of try to get active again. And he said yes, he was open to it, and he was going to send me his email, and I have not. But I sent it to his partner, Amy, and hopefully anyway, so.
That's exactly what I mean. That's perfect.
Haven't heard back from him anyway. Yeah. But anyway, yes, reaching out like that. Good idea. Good idea, Beth.
I have been involved in, and some of this has probably been my fault too, a number of groups where you spend a lot of time planning your planning and talking about roles and what the objectives are and things like that, and not much time doing. And when this comes up, my gut instinct is to say, who cares about this until you've got enough activities going on that it matters. It's a chicken and egg argument about why do you need a president if you're really doing very little
Right.
that the president's going to need to be in charge of. So I would just put that out there, that it's one thing that drives people away from things like planning meetings.
Sure. But
When
if you,
you're talking
but
about,
in order to have events, you need to have the people to plan them. So it's like the chicken and egg thing. You're exactly right, I think. And that's part of what we want, is to this leadership team, to the people who want to work on climate action, work on social justice issues, to come to the table and become leaders to help use the resources we've got to make that happen. Otherwise, then the question is, why are we getting together? It's, again, we've had this conversation repeatedly, but then we are just chart your yard, basically, and a Facebook page and a website. That's it. Unless, there's something else that shows up that we would like to do. And I think that there's possibilities are a lot. I know for a fact, I would like to do more video through the website. And I personally don't have any more attention or bandwidth, though, until after the election. And I do think that that our society is kind of going through a bit of a grieving about social change, social collapse, and all the issues that are going on. I've talked to Leslie about some of the other transition groups. They're mostly not functioning at all. This group is considered an active group that's doing more than most because it has charred your yard. So, when I say stuff like, well, we're just really not doing anything, I don't mean it as an insult. I mean, I think a lot of people are just ultra preoccupied with the last time, I know, Jean, you were saying, well, all this COVID stuff. Well, it's really not just all this COVID stuff. It's all this COVID stuff and all this political stuff and all of the social upheaval that is going on everywhere. I think everybody's just exhausted by it. So that's where I'm at.
excuse me, I have to let my dog in. Says it's getting cold now.
Yeah.
I don't even think that that's a function of COVID and politics and things like that exclusively. I think is an extension of things that were already going on.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Just general society pressures on time and things like that. So, I guess the reason why I bring it up is I find it really inspiring to spend time with people who have ideas and are interested in issues. And I find it really deflating sometimes to be part of groups where you spend a lot of time talking about the group,
Right.
and not those bigger ideas. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And it's also something where when you talk about inviting people, I'm a lot more comfortable trying to invite people to activities other than meetings. And I think a lot of people just aren't going to take on more meetings.
Well, what kind of activities can we have other than through Zoom? Or through, I don't know what kind of activities you're talking about, because, we can't seem to be able to get together face to face these days. So what are you referring to, Reed?
And if I had the answer to that, then I would be leading the transition movement worldwide, right?
You'd be our hero.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's actually probably, I mean, your point is well taken. And I'll concede that, but as Mike was saying, like having an organization whose function is about defining the organization, what are you actually accomplishing with that? Why not just be charred your yard if it's going to devolve to that point?
But we do have other things, We had the transition on the two things that Mike did through
Mhm.
Transition on Tap, and
And we hosted Deborah from the UK who came over for that nice workshop. And, you know, we have had some other stuff going on, and we certainly still have a lot of history and knowledge and experience at the
exactly,
table.
we don't want to lose that. Yeah.
And so, you know, but I think we just, you know, need a new approach, and we've been really very much struggling with that. And then we had some leadership struggles along the way, and so it's time to, you know, build all of that. You know, I don't think we can build leadership and then do the other work. I think we have to do both at the same time. So it's not like, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, maybe we have to find a way of developing them both at the same time. You know, we have a meeting where we talk about, you know, the broader leadership issues, and we keep having these planning meetings, and we keep hosting, you know, YouTube, Zoom events and stuff. And we, you know, keep those conversations going.
Right. I think part of it is just trying to get through until when we can meet in person again. You know, hopefully there will be a time when we can meet in person again. We can have in-person activities, and I think that's where we really get the peoples, because people like to get together and do things like we used to have every month. The movie potluck and movie night, we just sometimes it was kind of small, but especially in the winter months, we had got quite a few people. And there were some people who said, I love this. I love coming to these and being able to connect and learn new things and that kind of thing. So maybe we just need to kind of keep it going until and be more creative about what we can do.
Well, I will do another transition on tap for November. I haven't figured out what it'll be yet, but that's just another Zoom thing. I was a little disappointed that more people didn't come to the last one. But maybe if we, unless anybody else has another idea, does anybody else want to do one of those?
Well, Leslie sent me an email just today.
Yeah.
She said would have liked to join us tonight, Leslie McKenzie, but she had something else she had to do. But she would like to, what she says, I've attended a wonderful workshop offered by Green Step Cities on sustainability and behavior change. Transition towns have this quote unquote secret sauce for supporting successful change. I would like to host a Zoom presentation / conversation on this topic for Transition Longfellow. Would you be interested? Please talk to your group and let her know.
Obviously very interested. I'm assuming there's no charge or anything, and we can just get together and probably do it via Zoom. Sounds like I think it would be great.
Yes. So I said, I'm sure we probably would be very interested, and then I will talk to you folks tonight. And so I don't know.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Right. So, but we could do, that could be separate from a transition on tap that you might want to do, Mike, for November.
Yeah, or maybe I could work with them, and I could just, work out the technology and I can just be a helpful assistant to them, and that can be the transition on tap. And just so that we're not asking them to do it, I would just help them get it all put together, get it uploaded, and do all that stuff for them.
Right. So you will contact Leslie about that then?
Yeah, I will.
I can forward you her email.
She CC'd me on it. I got a copy of it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll respond. That'll be great.
Okay, so that will be our transition on tap then for November?
Hopefully, yeah. I'll try to make that happen.
Right. Okay. Right. But you said but before I talked about that. You said there was something else you might want to do.
No, I was just saying I would try to come up with an idea for a transition on tap, but that's a really good one. So let's just,
Right.
yeah, very good. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I have an idea for one, which I'm trying to figure out the logistics of doing it, which would be, instead of having just one presentation, have it be more of a discussion about energy conservation within the home, which I think is really important as we're heading into winter in particular.
Yeah.
And having people actually go through their homes and show the things that they do, and have it be more of a active discussion amongst the group, sharing of ideas.
Hmm.
I think that would be fun. I would come to do that.
I would do
We
that.
used to do those, we used to do skill shares where members would pick something like that. That sounds great. I love
Yes. Yes. Yeah, great. I'd participate in that. Yeah.
I mean, I would if I had a house.
You live in a
There's enough
house.
house to help you here.
Yes. Yeah, great, Reed. Yes. Just
Apartment builders
put
have
it
things
together
like
and
apartment, yeah.
send your stuff to Mike, and Mike, you could just put it on the
Yeah, well,
website.
yeah, I'll get it out on the calendar, on the web, on the Facebook. I can help with the, the
And I could send out an email.
technology part.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it make sense to have that as a transition on tap for December, or a separate
Yeah,
event?
I think it would be great to have it as a transition on tap for December.
So,
Probably the sooner the better, since we're in winter now.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
right.
Feels
So
like it. I feel
let
like
me
singing
think.
Christmas songs. You know.
yeah, so let me think about that, whether something to try and set up earlier than that. And that's something where I think contacting like the bungalow club to reach out beyond just people who are actively interested in transition.
What is
might
that?
Some other people, because I'm in a bungalow here.
Oh, I see. I see. Right. I'm in a bungalow. Mine.
I am too.
We have a lot of common problems.
Yeah.
I'm in a 1910 farmhouse that's trying to be kind of more craftsman.
Or what?
It's trying to be a little bit more craftsman. We discovered in our renovations that although our house looks like a forest square, it actually had a gabled roof at one point.
Mm.
It's an old house.
Uh-huh. Mhm. Mine's old. I think everybody probably is an old house who lives in Longfellow. Old meaning older than 50 years old.
Meaning drafty.
Mine's I have really good insulation. Yeah, mine went through, I did Center for Environmental something or other. I got 5 stars. The only thing I needed was bathroom ventilator, but otherwise I'm a 5-star house as far as my conservation efforts. But I would love to be a part and learn more of something you would do, Reed. Yes.
You could share as well, Jean. You could share what you've done too.
Yeah, tell us how you got to those 5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm
Sure.
serious.
Sure I would. So it'd be like a participatory kind of thing, just like we're doing now, right? And
Yeah.
right, and then people just say what they've done with, as far as their energy conservation, right?
And most people have phones or iPads. They can even walk around the house and.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might want to use your phone to call into the Zoom so you have that. So you're not.
Yeah.
I don't have a smartphone. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm envisioning me crawling into my kick walls and showing the attic bypasses on a cell phone.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, especially if I'm on the phone. All right. Well, I'll think some more about that and see if I can come up with some good ideas for how to make that successful.
Very good.
So that will be in November
December.
or December.
November, I'm going to contact Leslie.
I know, but Reed was saying that might be better to do it, be not a transition on tap, but just a separate event, a separate
Either way,
event.
yep, either way.
Yeah, I'll
And that,
get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Either way.
all right. Let's see. Sarah. Let's see. Well, there was a whole thing about finances and working with Alliance for Sustainability that we talked about, but Audrey isn't here, so we can just table that for another meeting.
Well, and that should all be part of that other leadership discussion anyway.
Okay. And then we talked a little bit, and Emily, I didn't see her this time, but anyway, something about an unstructured forum just to discuss all things sustainable. Just, but,
Correct.
if maybe she can, if she's here next time, she can talk about that. Emily Matisse is how it's
Matthews.
right?
So,
So in a way that I wonder if that's similar to what I was just talking about. Maybe not discuss all sustainable things at one time, but take on energy conservation first.
Well, you specifically are talking about energy conservation. She is talking more about kind of more current events kind of things, like back, a month ago, there was more about the California fires, the hurricanes, and kind of more like things that are in current events that are affecting our lives. And
kind of an emotional solidarity, right? That's kind of what kind of to reconnect with people and to express yourselves. That's kind of what I took from it. But
Okay.
actually at the meeting,
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching the Zoom though. I just didn't talk.
well, anyway, I don't know. That's what I have. Anybody else have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, great. Well, we got some things planned and things taken care of here, and
I'll contact Leslie and wait to hear from you, Reed, both. I'll wait for both.
All right.
And I'll
Good.
reach out to Audrey and let you know how, and Deb.
okay.
And
All
I'll post a link to the conversation, the interview with Marshall Tannick on Facebook.
Oh, right. Was I supposed to do something?
You're going to figure out a date for the leadership meeting.
Oh, right. Okay. And just send that to you then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will do that. But it's kind of hard to pick a date, time when I don't know who's going to be involved and when they're available. So
Well,
start with an email to the main group and send a note out, and we'll just figure it out offline.
The main group, meaning the planning group, or I thought we were kind of reach out to beyond the
We had talked about putting out a wider net.
Yeah, but I don't think we should put out to the wider net the meeting date and time. I mean, that could get really cumbersome fast. So
yeah.
if you keep it to the planning meeting group for selecting the date and time.
Got it. And then blast it once we
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. All right, good. All right.
Yeah, and pick among, for the people who are currently in the leadership team.
Right.
it should work for them.
Yeah.
Right. Right, okay. Well, then you have to see, I'll put out a date, few dates and see who the most people, what date is the best for the group. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks for
good to
setting it
see
up.
everybody. Yes, I enjoyed these.
Bye.
Take care.